All right, what's going on, everyone? I just saw Fantastic Four First Steps, and this is going to be a non spoiler review. It probably won't be too long because a lot of the stuff I want to touch on I can't get into unless it's spoilers. So I'm going to do a spoilers video on the movie, but I'm just going to do my quick thoughts on the movie, non spoiler. So let's just jump right into that. So the movie is a lot like Superman in that it's bringing us into an already established world. It's not the MCU that we know, and it's in an alternate universe, like an alternate world. The Fantastic Four are basically the only heroes on Earth. They're like the Avengers. They're the main go-tos when something bad happens. Whenever there's a monster attacking the city or some mole guy dropping buildings. A lot of the villains are like kind of like street level. Some of them were kind of big looking, but with Galactus, this is like the first actual like big threat they've faced where they're unsure whether or not they're gonna come out on top or not, and that's kind of like the theme for the whole movie. So it's definitely an interesting take to have the characters who are in doubt for a lot of the movie, as opposed to just being like, yeah, dude, like, I mean, obviously going in, they're banning Johnny Storm are hyping each other up, but yeah, we're gonna go punch this dude in the face. We're gonna take him out real easy, and then of course they realize that Galactus is a way bigger threat than they can have even imagined. So I think all of that worked, that tension with all that worked. And I think the four of them, which is going to be the main talking points, I think it worked for the most part. Eben Moss Bacharach as Ben Grimm, The Thing, and Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. They were probably the best cast, I would say. I feel like they really embodied their roles. Mainly Vanessa Kirby, she's like the heart of the family, as Sue Storm usually is. But you really feel it in this movie. Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards was good. For me personally, it was just hard not to see Pedro Pascal like stretching around and flipping around and stuff. So again, that's just a me thing. I hear a lot of people have really enjoyed his take on Reed Richards. For me, it was just hard to disconnect the two. I did see what he was doing though with his performance, having it be a little more nerdy, a little less boastful than I feel like Reed Richards usually is. But it's a new take, and I think it works. Not that he's not like arrogant, he is in his own Pedro Pascal way. I think overall it was fine. Going forward, I'm not gonna complain that Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards, and also apparently he might be leading the Avengers, so we will see about that. And Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, which was again a lot of debate about his take on Johnny Storm and about him not being a womanizer or if he is. In the movie, he makes references, and then they talk about how he loves women and stuff like that. It's not like in the Chris Evans ones where it's like gonna beat you over the head, where he like crash lands in the middle of a snowfield and just a woman is just ready to get naked with him. But again, it's like Superman where the world's already established, so you're kind of just jumping in when they're already doing the things that they're doing, and you're kind of just having to pick up the pieces throughout the movie. Again, with Johnny, there's like little crumbs throughout about him being like a womanizer or whatnot, but for the most part, he's got kind of like a rebellious attitude. He's not really hot headed, which is kind of like the reason that he got like the powers that he got. They all got powers based on their like personalities. I think there were some points where it was like, oh, he was kind of like quick to anger, a little feisty, but for the most part, he was pretty tame. He wasn't like over the top with it. He was like, he like picks on Reed sometimes, but other than that, again, just completely different takes for the characters. If you're expecting something like the originals or whatnot, just know it's going to be completely different, but like in a good way. So you're not just, oh, we're just rehashing the past. And Galactus looks cool, of course. Ralph Ineson, who plays him, which I think was probably the perfect casting. He's got the perfect voice for it. And I mean, yeah, he was pretty menacing, considering again it's in an alternate universe. They're the only hero, so it's not like you can have Captain Marvel show up or something like that. It's just four of them, and if they can't figure it out, then everyone's screwed. And I think they did a good job, like I said before, setting up that tension about will they, won't they. Michael Giacchino, the score is really good, as it usually is. It's pretty grand, it's very orchestral, very good, very grand. I think it fits for the movie, fits for the theme, because again, they're like celebrities. So of course they're gonna have this grand, over the top like theme, and like they have their own cartoon in this world and merchandise and stuff and whatnot, which like all the heroes usually have at some point, but for them being the only heroes, that was like their thing. And yeah, Julie Garner is a Silver Surfer, Shallow Ball or whatever her name is, and I thought she was good. I've never been like the biggest Silver Surfer fan, so I wasn't really nitpicking or anything about it. I was just like, oh yeah, yep, that's the Silver Surfer for sure, or at least one variant of them. I thought her arc was kind of predictable. It was kind of similar to the Silver Surfer arc in the Tim Story movies. Not entirely, but a little bit. So it was kind of weird in that way. I think she did a good job. I think the writing like of her character. It started off good, and then like once they revealed more of her past, and by the end of her arc, it was kind of just like, okay, we kind of knew that that's where that was going. But okay, I'm gonna stop rambling so I can just get to the spoilers in another video. So overall, those were my thoughts. The movie was pretty good. I was expecting to like the movie more than I did. I'm not sure why exactly. I feel like I have to watch it again because again, there's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff happens. It's putting you in the middle of a world that's already been established, so there's a lot of stuff to take in. So I feel like I have to go through it again to take more information and get more of the world and appreciate it more. But I think for like first time viewing, pretty good. Pretty good. I'd say after spending more time with the characters, like with the new cast, Pedro Pascal will probably in my brain will probably morph more into Reed Richards. But for this movie, it was kind of like 50-50. I was like, oh, some scenes I'm like, all right, I'm locked into the Reed Richards, and then some scenes I'm like, oh, it's just Pedro Pascal. But hopefully, like again, as it goes on, that'll change. I'll probably give this movie a 3.8 out of 5. I really enjoyed it for what it is. I think I need a second viewing, like I said. That was just my feeling walking out. Can't quite get it to 4. I feel like in my head I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna walk out and be like, oh yeah, man, that was like the most perfect movie ever. But that's why you don't set yourself up with expectations. You just go in blank and you let your mind think what it thinks. That's right. Your mind thinks what it thinks. I'm a philosopher. Anyway, let me know down below. Have you seen Fantastic Four First Steps? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know. Did you buy the $80 Galactus helmet popcorn buckets? I saw someone when I was there do it. And I was like, that looks pretty sweet. If I had the money, I honestly would have bought it. But anyway, hit the like button, subscribe. Peace.